You know your watch channel has finally made it when you're able to talk about certain things, such as why you should or should not own a Rolex, the misalignments of Seiko bezels, and why G-Shocks don't count. One other milestone has finally hit this channel, and that's reviewing a watch from Filippo Loreti. Yes, that brand that has a very colorful reputation. Is this career suicide? Many would suggest. Maybe. But hey, like what Grandmama Pirate used to say, if you can't talk about a timepiece without worrying about a Reddit thread being formed against you, then you are never truly free, aren't you? Yes, that's what she used to say, as I vaguely remember. So yes, we're going to talk about this Neptune Blue from Filippo Loreti. A watch that says, I'm here to redeem a brand, but I'm still stuck in 2018 build qualities. Let's begin. Let's begin with what you're getting here. The Neptune Blue features an automatic movement, an NH36, so no surprise there, 300 meters of water resistance, only a mineral crystal, and a screw-down crown, and bezel, because if this was bi-directional, I would literally send this back to Filippo Loreti without any recompense and without any remorse. And it has somewhat satisfying clicks. Somewhat, okay? Because it's somewhat satisfying, but that soft, dampened motion kind of spoils it a little bit. But here's where it gets interesting. If you look at it closely, any self-respecting watch pirate would immediately recognize that this kind of looks like a Seiko turtle case. They didn't even try to hide it. It's literally almost like that, except for the finishing, and we'll get to that finishing a little bit later. The turtle case is beloved for a reason. It's comfortable, it's slow, and it hugs your wrist very, very nicely, even if your wrist is under 7 inches, like myself. The dial, well, it looks like it came from a Citizen factory because it kind of is lifted from there. They just took out the Citizen Series 8 logo and branding in there, and then slapped on Filippo Loreti brandings and all of those thingamajigs. But that is not bad in itself, as they try to modify certain angles and shapes here to make it their own, and that's mildly putting it. The lume is pretty decent, not Seiko level, but not offensively weak either. The indices are bold and nicely applied, and it has this black ceramic bezel that is pretty common and very nice looking in any watch you could imagine. It's a design that tries to impress and occasionally succeeds. Another thing that I'm going to commend Filippo Loreti is their weekly creations calendar. Every week, they are releasing limited designs that you can pre-order, and that's, well, kind of smart in a way. It's smart because it keeps their audience engaged. Whoever is buying Filippo Loreti, at the very least, keeps them in the website on a weekly basis, building a sense of anticipation, and honestly, it gives Filippo Loreti the real-time feedback that it rightly deserves, whether it's good or bad. People actually want to buy these watches, and they're more than happy to check in their websites and put in their input. Microbrands can learn from this program aside from the other colorful wordings that Filippo Loreti puts on their website, if you know what I mean. It also forces the brand to create things, and rather quickly. It's kind of like the Netflix of watches, including all of the formulaic writing. As you can see with many of the designs, it's literally just color swaps and the occasional aesthetic deviations. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you can say that they fall asleep on the wheel. Or rather, maybe they fell asleep on the wheel, that's why they came up with those designs. I don't know. It's a nice idea, especially for the fashion enthusiasts that wants as many variations of their favorite watch as possible. But then again, this becomes like a homogenization of the design and of the brand. We've seen how Omega was heavily criticized for offering so many variants of their watches, and Filippo Loreti is not immune to these kinds of criticisms. In fact, Filippo Loreti might even be in a much more stickier situation. It's kind of like you're believing on your Hollywood actors when they talk about the climate change. It sounds nice and dandy, it sounds smart, but the moment that you actually put some effort into thinking about climate change and how climate always changes, then nothing really makes sense. So you literally just bought the watch for its looks, for its fashion, which may work for certain people, but not for the enthusiast. You see, you watch pirates are smart and very particular. I treat you with respect, and until Filippo Lippi or Filippo Loreti treats you the same, then I doubt that you'll be giving out your hard-earned loot for this very controversial brand. Of course, I didn't agree to this collaboration coming in with a little bit of baggage. I've heard of the controversies and I did a deep dive into what makes the brand really controversial. I've heard of things and I am aware of that, but I'm here to review the best offering of this brand, and I think the Neptune Blue best represents what they're capable of doing. The Neptune Blue stood out because it's one of the automatic offerings, so it's aimed more at enthusiasts. So now, we're putting the brand to the test, as many of its commercial success came from the fashion brand or the fashion watch arena. Now we're putting it in the enthusiast and see whether enthusiasts will be willing to buy this watch for themselves. Here's what a few of you said about the watch and the brand. Mr. Shinobi says that FL's marketing sucks, but the watches are decent and he appreciates my honest review. TrapVision 3D says that the watch is fine but blends in with the rest of the market. Better Steps says the dial screams Citizen 8, it's top heavy, the polish is overdone, and the H-Link bracelet is a bad choice. And finally, Sean Robinson 9854 says that he snagged two FL watches for cheap back in 2020 when he was clueless about quartz versus automatic. And while he wouldn't buy them now, it kicked off his journey of owning 50 watches and some high-end automatics. The case shape and the dial texture, the bezel, they all work for this particular model. It doesn't work all the time, but at least in this one, I think they have put on their best effort. But even in their best efforts, we could still see some glaring disappointments. And I'm talking about that bracelet. Now, let's be honest here, this clasp, as I've said in the unboxing video, is one of the most atrocious clasps that anyone could buy on their watch. I know these clasps had been around for ages, and that's why we wanted to make other clasps that are far better and far more comfortable on the wrist. This one, you don't even know whether you're clicking it securely or not. It's just that flimsy, and also it's very, very soft, and as experience tells us, many enthusiasts hate this kind of clasp, and it's very, very cheap feeling. Now, if you're a self-respecting microbrand, we all know that you can literally buy a much better clasp for an extra $5 to $10 each. Let's be honest there. If Filippo Loreti actually spent a little bit more in the clasp department, then that would have made this bracelet a little bit more serviceable. But no, this is one of the worst bracelets that I've ever reviewed. Now, the links itself are kind of decent. It has a bit of champering on the sides, and they have this polished elements in the middle. But it's kind of like a missed opportunity, as well as those polished elements could have been mixed with other textures other than just polish. The case finishing is also a bit confusing. It's trying to be elegant with all of these soft contours, but ends up just looking, well, incomplete. What I mean is they could have polished these areas a little bit more sharper to further enhance the quality of the watch. But now it just looks like it was a half-baked effort. But credit where credit is due. The Neptune wears beautifully and the shape works. About the case, this Seiko turtle design is still very versatile. Even though it's using a 22mm lug width, there's still some options that you can play around. And with this kind of colorway, you could still decently play around with all of the other strap options that you could readily see. And since it's relatively affordable, you can also install some affordable straps that you can buy in Amazon or even AliExpress. Where it shines, though, is really on the dial. The dial is the showstopper here, as it makes use of the conventional and tried and proven design elements, such as the very nice blue hue that it has on the dial, the really large elements of indices, and that nice hint of accent of red. And these are tried and proven design cues from many watches, and Filippo Loreti is using it here as well in the Neptune Blue. It's very easy for Filippo Loreti to go to their supplier and tell them, hey, I want a Seiko Turtle case on a Citizen dial, and call it a day. And they could literally release this every single week with a different variant, which is what they're doing with their weekly program. Quite frankly, right now, microbrands offer a lot more, because once you dive into this kind of price range that is below the $500 mark, it's very important for the enthusiast to have that kind of story and that kind of company exchange and interaction, which is yet to be seen from Filippo Loreti. And it seems that they are trying to make amends. They delivered this watch on time, actually. And it seems that there's some interaction online with them now compared to before. But again, until they overcome that previous reputation, it will be a hard sell for the enthusiasts, even though there are some nice qualities to this watch, not just redeeming, but actually nice qualities in this watch. And it's just overshadowed by the previous brand's shenanigans, if you call it that way. On the manufacturing side, they should put in a little bit more effort in the quality of the parts and components that they are putting in. Let's be honest there, many microbrands are really just fusing in together and mixing and matching all of these components that are readily available in Asia, and Filippo Loreti is no different. But they could always choose the better quality components, even at a little sacrifice with regards to their costs. And until the build quality catches up with the promise, the Neptune Blue is a decent looking, wrist-friendly halfway point. But that's it, halfway point, but not a full redemption. Only time will tell.